and their call-in number is 563-999-3581. And press 1, and that puts you in queue to talk to us. We would love to hear your comments and your questions because that makes this your show. Now, Michael and Dr. Tim both are at a Beamer conference in Peoria, Illinois, so I am doing the switchboard and hosting, and so chat room, I may not be out there very much, but please call in to the number if you have a question. And so what I thought I would do starting out, since this is Mother's Day weekend, is talking about a topic that I did. I was invited to do a women's retreat. It was a 4-day weekend up in the Pocono Mountains in November of 2015. And it was the journey within and unveiling the divine. And it fit perfect with their work. And so I was just going to share a little bit about what I shared with them about the journey within, which is the journey within ourselves. And while I was speaking to women, and, I do workshops with women, but this applies to men as well. So I started out with the same question that we use in every workshop, and that is, how many have ever held a newborn baby or a newborn puppy or kitten or some newborn life? And describe the essence. And the descriptors are always awesome, wonderful, miracle, precious, pure. You just described who you are. You are created in the image and likeness of the Creator. It says God is love. Love is the very stuff you are made of. It is the divine. Your being is the divine. And so the journey within and unveiling that divine is what this work is about. If you're not familiar with their work, you can go to www.whyagain.org and press the bullseye. There are all the worksheets that I'm going to mention. There are MP3s. The radio show we've been going over almost 7 years. And there's information out there that you could spend days and months and probably not catch all of it. So, but the work that we teach is about going inside and removing anything that's keeping you from experiencing who you are. And so what I told these ladies in this workshop, I said, okay, so now think of a time when you did something that you regret that you did. And what were you feeling that motivated you to do whatever it was you did? And their answers to that are like shame and guilt and anger and fear and rage, things along those lines. And notice that nothing in the first list was named when you did something you regretted. The second list that you did, what motivated you to do what you regretted, is not what you're made of. Somewhere along the way, it's usually around the age of 3 or 4, we bought into that we thought, we needed to be something else or do something else in order to be approved of. We confused approval for love. And so we gave up the divine. It is still there. It's still totally intact, but it's buried under this other stuff and kind of behind a mask, so to speak. And, people say, oh, I can't let people see the real me. I have to say that everything is perfect, everything's fine, I need to be more godly. I can't look at that old stuff, and, it's old anyway, it doesn't really matter, et cetera, all these excuses. I actually worked with a lady earlier this week, and she is totally in denial about what's going on for her. And she's going to have to get to the point where she acknowledges that she is not being righteous and godly and trusting and all of that. Otherwise, she would not be doing the behaviors that her family is seeing her do. She wouldn't be talking about suicide. She wouldn't be talking in such rage. And so it's like a house divided against itself, and she's behind a mask for the public. And right now, even though I'm working with her personally to get into the deeper parts of that, she still is kind of referencing me as public, and so she's got to put up this mask so that I can't see what's really going on for her. And I've got to get her to the point of dropping that, trusting me enough to know that I'm holding the space for her so she can go inside and look at what's really going on. But we all do that at some point or other. So unveiling the divine means dismantling everything that we have created to block that true self. It's all of our own self-imposed barriers. And we have to begin dismantling that false self, removing the mask. If you were in a women's workshop at this point, I would also have already handed out actual masquerade masks, and I have people put them on. And so it's like, you can't see really good when you've got this mask on. It like pushes in on the top of the eyes, and it kind of blocks your peripheral vision on the side. You can't see real clearly, and not as good as you can without it. And people can't see you for all of your face either when you've got that mask on. And so it's about removing those masks and to let go of hiding and being able to look at it and forgive it. And Aramaic forgiveness is what Yeshua taught, and it's about getting back to our source and being love, being who we are designed to be. It's the main tool that we present, and people say, well, can I get it done in one worksheet, one wake-up sheet? No, but you will have begun using a tool that you can take with you on the journey within and through life to face your own issues and to tear down those barriers. And then I usually ask people, do you really want to heal? Do you want to heal those issues? And a lot of people, they'll be like, well, of course I do. And it's okay. So what's it going to look like? It's going to mean you have to let go of your story. And many people do not want to let go of their story. They want to stay the continual victim, and they're actually identified with that. And so we have to ask, okay, what do I gain by hanging on to this false self? Do I get attention? Do I get pity? There is a payoff somewhere that we consider is more valuable than getting back to our true being and being who we were designed to be. And you think, well, everybody would want to heal, but that's not the case. And it's not always Dr. Feelgood. And the third thing is it requires us to take responsibility, to do our own work, to carry our own cross. Energy, when it goes into our system, energies that don't belong, it creates symptoms. On the way back out, the symptoms look the same. And one of the things that I was telling this lady when I was working with her, I said, there was somewhere in your life that you felt the desperation and that suicide was your answer and that this wasn't going to work. And so maybe you've gotten past that, but then all of it's got to come back up. It's got to be dealt with one way or the other. And so it's moving through. And I said, I used the story of when there was this great storm and Peter, was in the boat with the other disciples, and they were afraid, and they saw Jesus walking on water. And Peter's like, I know if you ask me to step out, I can walk on water. And so he's like, okay, come on. And so he steps out. Now, the same storm's going on. That hasn't changed. But as long as he stayed focused on where he was going, he walked on water. But when he started looking at the circumstances, looking at his story, looking at the storm going on, then he started to sink. That's what we do. I told this lady, I said, the storm, which is the story that she was wanting to tell me. And I said, that is your storm right now, and I'm not interested in the storm. I said, what I'm interested in is, do you want to walk on water or do you want to sink with the storm? And I said, that is a choice. Willingness is a choice. The other thing besides choice is decision, and decision is carbon-based memory. And that is based on things from the past. It's sort of like I refer to as the terminate and stay resident. Terminate and stay resident, which is a computer term. If you have your computer screen on, down at the bottom, there's all these little icons. All you have to do is click. One might be your Word document, one your email, one your Facebook, whatever. And they're on, but they're running in the background. And it just takes one click, and it pops into activity immediately when it's triggered. My terminate and stay resident, my TSR, used to be leaving or withdrawing. And when things got unbearable, I felt like I was backed against the wall, and I needed to do something to survive. I needed relief from the stress. What I automatically would do was to withdraw or to leave. Leaving hurts, just like, some people cut or do other things or do other drugs. And all of that hurts in some extent, some way, but it's what I call pain by choice. And it's a way to control or feel something other than the internal conflict. But what happens is what we use to control often becomes the controller. And so I'm going to stop right there and take a breath and see. I'm going to flip over and look at the switchboard. A lot of people know hands up. If anybody has a question about anything that I've said so far, please press 1. And we'll take a question. If not, I will continue on. Okay, I don't see any hands go up, so let's just keep on going then. So there are, people always ask, well, how do you know if it's healing or if you're in disease process? Well, there are 3 symptoms, 3 things that will happen in healing. You'll feel it physically, you'll feel any kind of negative symptom and low energy. Mentally, any kind of negative thought and confusion. And emotionally, any kind of negative feeling and depression. People are like, why would I want to go there? Well, it's in you already, so you either willingly go there and make the choice to deal with it and move it out, or it's going to kick you in the backside every day as you live anyway. It's going to constantly bring things to you, to bring those things up in your face to give you the opportunity to heal it. And you say, well, how will I know if it's disease or if it's healing? Because it looks the same both ways. So you ask yourself 4 questions. Am I doing more of the right things? Had I hit a new level of vitality? What is happening with my elimination? And did I crave the drug that I used originally to suppress the pain? That's the one most people, the other 3 people can answer pretty easily. Yeah, I'm doing more of the right things. I'm eating pretty good. I'm doing my worksheets. I'm meditating. I'm doing more of the exercising, things like that. Yes, I had just hit a new level of vitality. I felt like I was on top of the world. And my elimination's going great. But craving the drug that I used, I didn't use drugs. I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, but my drug was leaving. And so am I wanting to do what I did to keep from dealing with it the first time that it entered into my space? Someone asked me the other day when I was talking about, that leaving was the same as cutting, and they were like, well, how do you get that? And I said, well, when someone cuts, it's a physical pain, which is, one, a distraction from the internal emotional pain. It's also an escape, to escape the sensation of emptiness, to come out of numbness, to at least feel something in life. And some things that happen when people do physical pain like that is the brain will connect the sense of relief to the act of cutting. And the brain craves that release when tension builds. And so it becomes addicted to it. Well, it's the same thing with, when I would leave or withdraw, there would be a sense of relief. And, tension would be building and everything. And so then, okay, that relieves it. And you can actually become addicted to doing that. You have to choose. You have to consciously choose to do something different other than what your carbon-based memory, other than those TSRs. And it's the same thing with, drinking or drugging or overeating or fighting or whatever. It's all about trying to control some portion of your life, but really that behavior is controlling you. And you can't change the behavior. That's the effect. You have to get to cause level. You have to change what's behind it, what's greater than the behavior. And when you change that, then the addiction will change. And so my computer just shifted on me here. My apologies. People want an easy fix, and they want to just suppress whatever it is that's coming up. But we want to do a permanent change, and that's what this work is about. How do we get to what's driving us? And there was, people talk about feeling, and especially when you're doing the worksheet and you're talking about the trigger or the cause, and here we're talking about cause or effect, or, we talk about reality and actuality. Well, emotions are shadows of thoughts. So when an emotion comes up, stop and say, okay, what's the thought behind it? And a good example that I use, this kind of goes in with what we were talking about the last couple of days about that things that we create in our mind, our reality, that it's not real. It might be sort of similar. It might be pointing in the direction of what's going on in actuality, but we make it up in our own head. When there was a movie that when I was a kid, it was on Alfred Hitchcock, and it was called The Birds. And, I'm safe. I'm in the living room. I'm watching the movie. There's nothing going to get me. Everything is perfectly cool. But I'm watching this movie, and physically, I am so impacted. I am shaking. I am nervous. This fear is up and everything. And then after the movie was over, there was this one scene in the movie where they walked up the steps and opened this door and the birds flew out. Well, my bedroom was upstairs, so when the movie's over, I have to walk up the steps. And so I've created all this stuff going on in my head around this movie. And, I'm totally safe in my home. We do that, though, every day when we're out in the world. We make up these stories, these things that are going on, and it may be similar to what's in actuality, but the fear and the trepidation and the anger and all of those things that we make up within us, that is all inside of us. And that creates stresses and it drives behavior. And so that's what the worksheet is about, changing. And when we talk about stress, that's another thing. When we in the worksheet, we talk about setting goals and canceling the goal to alleviate that stress. Imagine if you've got, like right now, I've got a cup of tea in front of me. If you've got a glass of water, a cup of tea, or whatever, pick it up and hold your arm straight out in front of you with that glass in your hand. How much does it weigh? Mine's probably 10 ounces. Okay, it's not too bad. And actually it's half empty, so it's probably only about 5 or 6 ounces. All right, forgiveness is setting it down. If you just keep holding it out there and holding it, then the stress is going to increase. Your arm's going to start shaking, all kinds of things. But if you set it down, then you relieve that stress. And so forgiveness is about going inside, removing what keeps you from being the essence of love that you are, setting it down, release the stress. Then you have your full senses. And I need to ask a young man here something. He's working on the internet. So I see a couple hands up, so I'm going to go ahead and click one person on. I'm going to be giving you half an ear, but I'm also going to be talking to this gentleman over here. So 252, you're on the air. Who do we have?
You have Ivan, Sr.
I'm sorry, who?
You have Ivan, Sr.? Ivan Solomon, Sr.
Okay, didn't have a really good connection on that. I apologize. Try back in. Area code 847, you're on the air. Who do we have?
Yes, this is Cindy from the greater Chicagoland area.
Hi, Cindy. How are you doing?
I'm a little wound up right this moment in time. So I'm going to take a breath here. I'm having an interesting issue with my job. I'm a massage therapist. I've worked for the same doctor in the same place for quite a long time. About 6 months ago, they have 2 offices. One's close to me, one's far from me. So I ended up, there was an opening, and I transferred to the office that was further away from me, which was fine. I needed some change. And at that point in time, that suited me really well. And I've also built up a clientele in the faraway office as well. But over time, it's just starting to get to me. It's a lot of miles. It's a long drive. A couple of the shifts are only like 3-hour shifts, and sometimes they're only 2 hours, and then I get sent home. So it's becoming to the point where it's not really worth it for me. So in the interim, I had gone and gotten a massage at a health club, a fitness center that I belong to that's close to my house. And the woman who gave me the massage happened to be my massage teacher. And she was saying that, they were looking for somebody, and she introduced me to the woman that I needed to connect with. And it seems like a really nice place. They seem willing to help. I was able to ask for the money that I wanted, which is something that's new for me. Anyhow, to make a long story short, I ended up getting this other job. and it's an $8 an hour increase in pay for me, so that's really good. I'm having, yes, so it's like, look what I manifested. However, I feel like I need to breathe or do some worksheets because I'm having all this anxiety about telling my current employer I'm looking to stay there maybe a couple of shifts a week, small shifts, so I can maintain the clientele that I have there. I feel like I'm having a little trouble letting go of that. I'm having so much anxiety because I feel like I'm not sure if it's like anxiety about kind of having a different relationship with them. I also recognize for me that this is going to throw them into an unpleasant situation where they're going to have to do something, and I feel like they're going to be disappointed, or I'm going to disappoint them or hurt them somehow, and it's like stopping me from moving forward. I'm just having a lot of I'm feeling very anxious about this situation.
Okay, so I have two thoughts. So if you'll take a couple of deep breaths for me first. If you go to our, yeah, good. If you go to our website and you click on the bullseye, take you to the worksheet. There are two worksheets besides doing the forgiveness work around, the anxiety and things that are coming up for you. There is one that's called responsibility communication. You'll have to roll down about halfway down the page past all of the wake-up sheets. And there's one called responsibility communication. I would suggest that you print off the communication rules, write it out. I use my computer. That way I can go back and make changes and, retype without rewriting the whole thing. There are a couple of example letters there too. But writing out just facts. The communication starts out with just the mechanical facts. This is what's happened, and just what you just told us. The facts are of how long it's taken you to get back and forth for the short amount of hours, and that, this is going to alleviate that stress and that expense for you, plus you're getting an increase in pay. So naming just the facts without having any emotional attachment to it, it's kind of like making a list of pros and cons here. And then mention, and so when it gets to the part about, and so I am feeling anxious, and I would like your support in dealing with this. And so the communication with them is basically going to be around them assisting you or supporting you in relieving that anxiety that you realize, and you may state, I realize this may put you all in a spot for a while. And, that brings up, and name whatever it is that it brings up for you, concern, the anxiousness. I would do the forgiveness sheets around feeling like you have to, this move sounds like it is totally for your better. And so what part of you thinks that you have to put everybody else, over top of you? So like, why should you? And it's awesome, and it's a good quality, a good aspect of character to care about what your decisions or choices are going to do to the other people. But you also have to take care of you. And so it's a balance, but there's a part of you, it sounds like, that, regardless of whether it's good for you, that if it's going to bring up disappointment or hurt or something like that for them, which that's their work if that comes up. But it sounds like you've taken it on that you have to fix all that for them too. Is that accurate?
Yes, this is accurate, and that's interesting because I've had this issue before, and I find myself in my thoughts like tempted to like look for another therapist for them, and it's like, you know what, stop it, that's not for you.
Right. And so, it's being able to be responsible with the communication with them, that, you're concerned for them and that you want to help them. You'll recommend, another therapist that's closer. And, perhaps you can do things like I do a lot of sessions with people over Skype. that I've got a couple of people in England and New Zealand and Finland, and that I work with, via Skype. And maybe isn't quite as personal, but it's working for all of us, so that might be an option too. But taking care of your own self on that too is, something that you just need to look at and do worksheets around. Why have you not taken care of yourself? It's kind of like on the airplane, they tell you to put your mask on first before you try to help someone else.
Yes.
And so it sounds like you're trying to help everybody else while you don't have your mask on.
Yes.
And the other worksheet that just while you were talking just popped in my head, and you may already know your purpose, but if you scroll a little bit further down from the communication sheet, there's one that's a purpose worksheet, and it walks you through. And actually, I was going to mention that a little later, so we'll just go ahead and do it now. So what it does is, first, tell me what, in your view, would be the perfect world.
In my view, like as far as work goes?
No, just what would the perfect world be? Like everybody has enough, or there's peace, or happiness, or bliss, or whatever.
Yeah, I think in my perfect world, I think that everybody would have enough. There would be balance between work and play, that there would be, I think for people, just a sense of balance.
Okay.
That would be my perfect world. Just, I think it would create peace, happiness, and harmony if there was a sense of balance.
Okay. And now name something that you have a gift or a talent for, something that comes easy for you.
Something that comes easy for me is like thinking up ideas, teaching, showing, learning.
Okay. What is something that you enjoy doing? And those may be some of the same things.
I enjoy like leading, I enjoy teaching, I enjoy showing people how to do things. I guess at a leisurely level, I enjoy being outside, walking, hiking, I enjoy swimming.
Awesome. You come up with these a whole lot quicker than a lot of people. I've seen some people can name 2 or 3 things, and then they have to sit there for an hour trying to think, what else do I like to do? Or what, so that's awesome. Okay, and so then you put it together. So this is just kind of a quick summary, and you can re-listen to the show and fill out the sheet later. But you can print off the sheet, and it's got blanks for doing all of this. And so then you put it together, and it's, okay, so I now use my gift of learning to teach others leisurely so that we create a world where everything is in balance and everyone is fulfilled and everybody's at peace. So
I love it. That's awesome.
So what that is your purpose statement. And we tell people to keep working on it for, months and sometimes even years, just because you'll be walking along and you'll think of something else and you go, oh, and add that to it. But once you get your purpose statement down, everybody is put on this planet for a purpose. And the purpose of their journey is got to be in alignment. And so once you know what your purpose is, then you start looking, okay, is, all of my behaviors, my decisions, my choices, my words, my thoughts, my goals, are they in alignment, purpose? So you would ask yourself, is driving this far every day to do 3 hours and drive all the way back, does that fulfill my purpose? Well, it might, but then it might not. But once you get your purpose down, then you start everything, whether it's a vacation, where do we go on vacation, or, what do we do next? What workshop do I do? What person do I teach? Is it in alignment? And if it is, you do it, and if it's not, you don't. Doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with it, but if it's not in alignment with your purpose, then you don't do it. And then everything in your life falls in place, and you're happier and more fulfilled, and you don't have the anxiety and things like that. Our feelings are like an alarm system for us. So, if the alarm in my house goes off, it's saying there's fire or smoke somewhere. And if I just take the battery out and unplug it and make it shut up, it doesn't take care of the fire. And so when you're, anxious or fearful or any of those things that are not your being, then it's telling you there's something that's off target, something out of alignment here. And so when you get totally in alignment, then you have a clear picture. It's kind of like they used to have antennas on the roof. Now we have digital or whatever. But used to there were antennas, and if it was aligned the right way, then it would capture the signal that was going through the air, and you would have a perfect on your television. If it was out of alignment, your picture would be fuzzy and your sound wouldn't be clear. It's the same with us. If we are in alignment with our source, with the Creator, and we're in alignment with our purpose for being here, then we have a clear picture and we show to the world the love that we are and the love that is the possibility for them to have. If we are not in alignment with their purpose, then we may be giving mixed messages. We may be feeling mixed messages, and we won't be clear. And so we need to, and we won't hear that still small voice. There is, when we're doing the worksheets down near the bottom where you cancel the goal, then it says to invite Ruka Dakudsha, which is the feminine elemental force that undoes our errors and teaches us truth. But it's a still small voice. And she can't remove what we hold on to or what we value and what we won't release. We have free will on that. I do, in the women's workshops, I have an exercise I do that I will blindfold one lady, and she doesn't know what's going to happen, but all the other ladies in the room, I have them kind of standing in two lines that's very crooked. And so the lady that's blindfolded, when I bring her out, all I've told her is that she has to listen to my voice, and I'm talking very quiet. And if she doesn't follow my direction, that she'll bump into something. And the other ladies have been told that as soon as she comes out, they are supposed to start screaming at the top of their lungs. They're supposed to be saying things like, don't listen to her, come this way, or whatever. And the person that's blindfolded has to really focus to hear my direction, because all of this distraction and noise is so much louder than what I am. And at the end of the exercise, a lot of them are going like, oh, wow, that was, really powerful. I see what you're talking about. But, Ruka is in us. It's the elemental force that will direct us and lead us. But if we have so much noise going on, if we are not clear, we won't hear that voice. And, she's there. She will, if we allow her to, she will direct us and guide us in all the proper steps. And so it's getting rid of some of that clutter, undoing the barriers that keep us from the divine within us. So I think those two exercises might help you have a little more clarity. You probably would be able to see that the one job maybe is more in alignment with your purpose than the other, and that may even be, what you include in your explanation as to what's going on. You might want to include that. I've focused in more on what my purpose is, and this is the direction I need to go and what I need to do. I love you and bless you, and I'm going to help you, in the transition any way that I can. However, and then put yourself first in the direction that you feel led to be.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was a big one.
Well,
I'm going to get on that and do that work. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, you are more than welcome. Thanks for calling, Cindy. And if we can help you,
no problem.
Call back in on Monday, and we can go from there.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thanks. Bye-bye. Okay, so our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And with no hand up, then I am going to continue with something else that I shared with the ladies up in the Pocono Mountains, and that was, what are we going to take on our journey to go within, to uncover what's keeping us from the divine, to unveil the divine. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, life is a journey, not a destination. And we haven't arrived yet. And I've also heard it said, life is not measured by the number of breaths that we take, but by the moments that take our breath away. I understand their meaning. It's those in-awe moments. Change the wording somewhat, but because breathing is most important. Holding the breath is how we lock things into our tissue, and breathing is the first thing that we're going to take with us. We are going to breathe, take the breath of God, the breath of love with us on the journey within. I used a lot of scriptures with this group because it was a church group of ladies, and I'm going to share those scriptures. You can let go of any resistance to having scriptures being given. I think that there is as much wisdom, if not more, in some of the scriptures than quoting people like, we quote scientists and philosophers and all the time. So just take it for the message that's in it and breathe if it brings up something less than that in you. But in Job it says, the Spirit of God hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty has given me life. In Genesis it says that God formed man from the dust of the earth, and he breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. I took a group of kids to a conference one time, and there was a Jewish man that was the keynote speaker. And he said that the name of God was not really pronounceable. And actually, I think it was that it was so sacred that they wouldn't say his name. But they said that the name, if you could pronounce it, it would be more like the breath. And then he went on to say, and this has just stuck with me so powerfully, when we're born, are we alive because we took our first breath or because we first spoke God's name? And if we die, is it because we take our last breath or because we quit speaking God's name? And so if you hold your breath, you cut yourself off from the very source of your power. And we need that power on this journey. So let's take a breath and let's begin the journey. Our work is a process. It's, we're told that we're not to conform to the world, but we're to be transformed by the renewing of our minds in order to discern what is good and pleasing and perfect. So the second thing that we need to take with us on our journey within is a new mind so that we can discern what path is it we need to take. It's kind of like doing the purpose statement that we were talking about so that we know if we're in alignment. So we can forgive, we can let go of all the barriers that block us and keep us from seeing the way that we need to go. And then there's several verses that says, you are the light in the Lord. Walk as children of light. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your vision is clear, your whole body is full of light. The light for your earthly life, is it clear or is it hidden under carbon-based memory? Is it hidden under fear and hostility? Is it shining before you each step of the way so that you can see? Or do you have it pointed so far down the road that you can't see what's right in front of you? So the third thing that we're going to take with us on the journey within is our light so that we can see what's before us and we can avoid pitfalls. This journey called life should be full and abundant. Yeshua came to bring us life and to bring it more abundantly, to give us more than just life, but that we would have an abundant experience. But you can't experience that abundance if you're not in alignment. In Aramaic, the word prayer means to set a trap for God, and that's what I was explaining to Cindy was, being in alignment so that our picture is clear and that our seeing and our hearing is clear. So the fourth thing we take with us on the journey is the choice to be in alignment and to follow our purpose. Someone asked, how do we align? And I led them to doing the purpose experiment that we just did, the exercise. And so as we continue to journey and dismantle everything less than love, all of the self-imposed barriers, and unveil our divine being, we take off the masks And as we journey, we need to be on purpose. And then the fifth thing that we take with us is the guarantee of Rikadishkucha, the Holy Spirit, the guide, the power, the comforter. It's given many different names that was given to us to do what we can't do ourselves. And then there's a course a chapter in the Course in Miracles. Actually, in the book that I've got, it's on page 433. And this has always been one of my favorite. And it says, once you have accepted his plan as the one function that you would fulfill, there will be nothing else that the Holy Spirit or Ruka will not arrange for you without your effort. It will go before you, making straight your path and leaving in your way no stones to trip on and no obstacles to bar your way. Nothing you need will be denied you. Not one seeming difficulty but will melt away before you even reach it. You need take thought for nothing, careless of everything, except the only purpose that you would fulfill. And that was given you, and so will its fulfillment be. God's guarantee will hold against all obstacles, for it rests on you, rests on certainty, and not on contingency. It rests on you. And what can be more certain than a son or a daughter of God? No one can do this journey on their own. You know, we all need support. And, you know, in the scriptures it refers to the kingdom of God. It can, in Aramaic, it can properly be translated as the community of love. We must create ourselves a community and be the light within it. And Ruka will hold us up and make it easier for us to do. And you can decide to do it otherwise, and that's your call. But know that the results from that are also yours. And so I'll take a breath and see if anybody has a question. Press 1. If you're in the Virginia, Tennessee area on June the 16th and 17th, I am doing a 2-day, 1-night women's retreat. And I would love to have you join me and contact me if you're interested in that or want more information. It's also on the website. And if there's no hands up, then I'm going to share something that I posted on my Facebook for Mother's Day, since that's this weekend. I put, I am thankful for this Mother's Day, covering generations on either side of me. First, I am thankful for my mom and all that she has done for me, lessons she taught me, and for embracing me in love even when I messed up. For being there, I am thankful for her guidance and her care of Ryan, who is my son, as well. I've seen so many Facebook posts wishing that their moms were still here. Well, I am glad you were still here, Mom. I wish I were there to hug and kiss you this weekend, but I'll be there in a few weeks. I love you, Mom. And then I am thankful that I have been blessed with the most wonderful son in the world, Ryan Shaw. Being a mom is such an honor and is so fulfilling. I remember well a time when I did not think that I would be a mom. I had lost 2 babies. Ryan is an answer to prayer. While I am not perfect, I have done the best I knew to do, and I cherish the relationship that Ryan and I have. Thanks for making me a mom. To the only person who has heard my heartbeat from the inside, I wish I were there to hug and kiss you too. I love you, Ryan. I have also been blessed to be a mother-in-law to the most wonderful daughter-in-love, Gabrielle Shaw. Thank you for being in our world and for loving my son like you do. Stepmom, I have been privileged to share an extended family and be blessed in many ways. Thank you for accepting me as you do, Eric, Brandon, Michael J., and Krista. Love you all. And now I'm experiencing being Nana to Riley and Jacob Shaw and Ashlyn and Adeline Poole. I love those sweet little faces. And the list goes on for the lives that we touch as moms, not to mention as being a daughter, a sister, a wife, a aunt, a cousin, a friend, a teacher, etc. I pray that we all touch every life that crosses our paths in a loving, wonderful way. Have a fantastic Mother's Day, ladies, with love. And then there was one that I posted out there. I have posted it for several years to my son. And it may not be the best regulatory speech, but hey, I'm learning. And so I reworded it a little bit. I wasn't the original author of this. I'm not sure where it came from, but I said, Ryan, before you came in my life, when you came in my life, I experienced a lot of things as never before. Before I was a mom, I never looked into teary eyes and cried. I never got gloriously happy over a simple grin. I never sat up late hours at night watching a baby sleep. I never held the sleeping baby just because I didn't want to put him down. I never felt my heart break into a million pieces when I couldn't stop your hurt. I never knew that something so small could affect my life so much. I never knew that I could love someone so much. I never knew I could love being a mom. I didn't know the feeling of having my heart outside my body. I didn't know how special it could feel to feed a hungry baby. I didn't know the bond between a mother and her child. I didn't know something so small could make me feel so important. I had never known the warmth, the joy, the love, the wonderment, or the satisfaction of being a mom. I didn't know I was capable of feeling so much before I was a mom. Thank you for coming into my life. I love you. Everybody hug and kiss your moms this weekend. Even if you disagree with them, you have an argument going. You know, I'm working with a family, and it's like I told them the other day, I said, stop the he said, she said, they said. And I said, just deal with your own work. What's going on inside of you? And love each other. I said, where did this come from? And actually one of them, when I was talking to them about what was going on for them, and they used the term, I loved them, in past tense. And I was like, so what's going on for you now that you have to say that in past tense? They haven't changed. You haven't changed. There's stuff between you, but you're each the same being that you were. So what's going on there? And getting them to stop and look at their own. They're so involved in their story, and I've told them, you know, this story is your storm, and you're getting lost in the storm, and you're going to sink. You're going to recreate the same issues again and again. I said, do you want to walk on water? Do you want to walk above it regardless of the storm? Where do you want to be? So I'm asking you as the audience, we have 10 minutes. Call in and share a brief story, or call in and just say, you know, I love you, Mom, or whatever. Let us hear your voice. Nobody's going to press one. You're not going to help me out today, huh? Leave me hanging out here. All right, thank you. 951, you're on the air. Who do we have? 951, you're on the air.
Hello?
Hey.
Hello?
Hi, how are you? Who do we have?
Kevin?
Hello?
Kevin from Manatee, California.
Well, I don't know what happened with that connection. So anybody, press 1. We have 9 minutes. And because I've been talking and doing the switchboard, I haven't been typing. So if you want anything out of my notes today, I do have an outline that I used with the women in Pocono Mountains. So I can send that to you. So you can just email me at Jeanie, Jeanie, @whyagain.org. And I will be glad to send it to you. And also on our website, at the top of every page, right in the center, it says, join our mailing list. I have started doing monthly newsletters. Started that back like last May or June. And there are links to each of those newsletters on our website. But if you're not getting them in your email, then it is because you're not on their mailing list. So if you'll click that and just fill in your information, then I will send you an MP3 of Michael's book, and then you'll be on their list, so you'll get the newsletters from this point forward. And 808, you're on the air. Is this Roma? Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Happy
How
Mother's
are you doing,
Day.
young lady?
Oh,
Thank you.
Yeah, what a sweet idea to have you do the presentation today. I really like it. Mm-hmm.
Well, it was actually because both Dr. Tim and Michael are in the same conference in Peoria, Illinois.
Oh.
So usually if Michael's in a meeting, then he gets Dr. Tim to do it, but Dr. Tim's in the same meeting with him, so it was like, okay, I guess that leaves me.
Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I've never heard you take the radio program before, so this is a first for me.
Oh,
yeah,
well, thank you.
It's not an easy thing, is it, to actually create an hour of engaging conversation and without knowing whether anybody's going to press one or not.
I know. It's
really.
you know, it definitely helps, and you know, when I say that it makes it your show, it really does, because otherwise it's a monologue.
Right.
So,
well,
yeah.
I the only thing I can share with you about Mother's Day is that I was pregnant once, and they told us the baby was going to be mongoloid if she lived to be born. And so we chose to, the doctor put me in the maternity ward. I wouldn't go to an abortion clinic. And I did 2 days of labor, and the baby came out looking exactly like her daddy. It was so beautiful, but of course so profoundly sad. So I'm still working on and then that was how many years ago? I was 34 years ago. Still working on dealing with the grief and the sadness of losing a child, you know. So
try something, especially being there in Hawaii. This would be really awesome to do too. We did an exercise when we did the intensives in North Carolina. There was, I think, out of the group, and this was actually the intuitive development group, I think there were 9 of us all totaled there, and we had each at some way, whether it was, you know, some had abortions, some had miscarriages, just different losses in the family. And so we sat and wrote letters one night to the babies. And then the next day we had a ceremony, and we burnt the letters, let the ashes fall into a bowl, and then we walked out to the ocean and we threw the ashes out into the waves. And it was amazing. Right as soon as the last person had gone and thrown all the ashes, and it was basically over, this flock of pelicans, I mean, there had to have been at least 30 of them, flew past us. I mean, it was almost like the souls or something, you know, just, it was amazing. So maybe sit and write a letter to the baby and just, you know, put your heart into it, what you would like for that baby to know, and then burn it, and then let it go.
Yeah, I met a new friend yesterday. We sat and talked for 4 hours. We met in a coffee shop, and we sat and talked for 4 hours.
That's awesome.
And yeah, it was awesome. She's a Capricorn with Scorpio rising Scorpio moon, and I'm a Cancer with Scorpio rising Scorpio moon. So, and my first husband was a Scorpio rising Scorpio moon, so it's kind of an interesting thing. And apparently this full moon is a Scorpio moon. So I don't know. Anyway, it was a magical connection, and she and I both lost a baby, and because it was a choice that my husband and I made, supposedly. Actually, our mother-in-law made it. My mother-in-law made it, and sort of pushed us along the road. But anyway, we made it. And I was sharing with her. We were sharing very deeply. On the first day we ever met, sharing with her that that I was aware that I had murdered my child and grieving about that. And she said that she had had to abort a baby years ago, and that 10 years later, when she was doing some deep work, internal work, that she had the same awareness about, murder. And there's this whole dialogue about Roe versus Wade and all of the whole topic. And I guess that in my heart and soul that I align with, even though I believe that people ought to be able to make choices about how they're going to live their lives. She was talking about how her life, the karma, the experience of the challenges and difficulties after that experience. She said that the tone of her life changed radically, and that she went through a rather long period of time. I guess really. I have to honestly confess that I guess I come down with the people who, my husband and I spoke 10 years later after the divorce, after we hadn't even seen each other for 8 years, and we were both weeping and crying, and we both realized that both of us wanted the baby. But I thought about what it would do for his life to have a disabled child, and he thought about what it would do for my life. And we both realized that if we had made the decision based upon what we each wanted, it would have been a different decision. So that's an ironic thing, that you think you're doing the loving thing for your partner. And but I guess I don't. I would rather not see anybody have an abortion again.
Yeah, it definitely has an impact, I mean, the ones that talked about it during the intensive, and the show's going to cut us off here shortly, that there's a continual residual until you deal with it, the guilt and all of the different emotions that come up around it. Someone in the chat room said they had been there too, and that they still dealt with the sadness and the grief around it as well. And so it's, one of those things we keep doing our work around, and until we can, but it gives us the ability then, once we have gotten through it and cleaned up our pain around it, to stand in the space, to hold the space while someone else goes through that same thing. And to be able to help them to deal with it and look at the guilt and all of the things, all the emotions, and to be able to handle it. And our shows are going to be up in about 10 seconds, so I hold this space that everybody has an awesome